Thanks for your time, Professor Rashkar. Could you please explain on what you talked on in the TIE Global Summit?
Isha, thank you for having me here. My talk was about how we can innovate for billions and overcome the Tendulkar problem, as I described it. There's a lot of mystique and romantic nature attached to entrepreneurship and the notion that somehow entrepreneurs will solve all the problems of our generation. And in reality, we need to look at it in a very different way. What we want, going back to the analogy with Tendulkar, is that we want a nation that's made up of young people who are athletes and very strong. But we're not going to go around and start cricket academies in every city and go scouting looking for cricketers.
Right.
And the same way, what we want is a nation of innovators. And the nation of innovators are the ones who are going to work on the problems that really matter in health and education and transportation and agriculture and so on.
Right.
And so my talk was about how we need to create a nation of innovators before we worry about creating a nation of entrepreneurs.
Sure. You must have seen how Indian tech startups have fared by far. What is your opinion? And where do you think are they different or similar to the Silicon Valley startups?
I think failing a startup is not a problem. I think the issue is, are we giving the right tools and right incentives to start with? And failure is acceptable. And I think in a solver-rich environment like Silicon Valley, where you have abundance of solvers, innovators, and entrepreneurs, is a very different situation in developing countries where we have a lot of passion, a lot of talent. Nevertheless, the number of solvers is very few compared to the amazing and huge problems the nation faces. So we simply cannot copy-paste the models of startups and ventures and entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley, and when the types of startups, we simply cannot copy-paste that here in India. And in fact, like you said, we need to have a different model for different place. And our humble request is that when we are creating new models in countries like India, which has amazing talent and a very large base of researchers coming out, we need to actually create tools of innovators. And the main challenge we have to solve is to make sure that people are working on the right problem. Again, the main challenge we have is to make sure people are working on the right problem. Otherwise, we'll have the Tendulkar problem, where although our desire is to create a nation of healthy, athletic young people, we will end up focusing on the wrong one.
Sure. What mistakes have the Indian tech startups done by far? And I say that in the purview of the fact that there is a little bit of a downfall that we see in the Indian startup ecosystem generally. What mistakes have we done by far that we can sort of rectify and we can grow further?
Yeah, I think you're asking a question about, are the entrepreneurs who are running the startups doing a good job? I would change that question to say, does it matter which startup is doing well and which startup is not doing well? I think as an individual, and I'm an investor myself, I have my own startups, I might have a different view. I want the company that I invested in to do well. But that's a very different question than what a nation needs. And the nation needs companies that are solving, as I said, really big problems that'll have an impact on billions of people.
Right.
And even if it's a billion, it's $1 billion problem for billions of people. And that's what matters. So although yes, some tech startups may be failing, that's just the nature of how startups are. But I would request them to actually look at humongous opportunity, whether it's garbage or blood banks or self-help groups. There's so many challenges that they could target and go forward. And so I'm here at TIE Summit to really talk about a platform, effectively a blueprint to create a nation of innovators. And in our opinion, RedX, REDX, is a platform that's is ideal for this to create a nation of innovators. So I encourage you to go to redx.io or edx.io and download the blueprint. And we even have funding coming from foundations who can help you get started on that journey of being an innovator that can solve really big problems and then become an entrepreneur.
Sure. My question is, where are the loopholes that we can bridge? in terms of getting these startups really to the place where they deserve to be. What we see in the Indian startups is that they have brilliant ideas, but they do not convert into reality. Where are the gaps?
I think there are three main issues that startups have to deal with. One is team formation, second is choosing the right problem, and third is using an appropriate solution / business plan. And unfortunately, because of the romantic nature assigned with startups, often the teams are formed by people who know each other and their buddies or cousins. When it comes to problem statement, people working on problems that they understand, that they see in front of them, usually e-commerce or hyperlocal or dating and gaming. And the solution they use are also something they are aware of. They're not going to use the latest methods in machine learning or optimization methods or microfluidics or genome sequencing and so on. And so this we have this potent, deadly combination of a weak team, maybe not the right problem, and not using a disruptive solution. And if we can get people over that and become more of an innovator and have a focus on solving the problem rather than monetization and user base, then we'll have a really strong base for the startup. And if the startup goes through the three phases that we recommend in the RedX program: spot the problem, probe the solution, and grow adoption. Only once you have done those three things, you should worry about team formation and business plans.
What are the essentials for getting registered to the RedX program that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm delighted that we have funding from Levelson Foundation to support that. So I encourage you to go to the website redx.io or edx.io, and you can start a club, which is a 10-week program to get you started. And in addition, we also have RedX labs. And we have existing labs, but you can take our formula to start your own lab. Whether you want to work in agriculture, whether you want to work on opportunities in rural areas, whether you want to work on innovations in slum, whether you want to work on innovations in health, you can create your own RedX labs to effectively create a pre-incubator that would lead to great startups.
Sure. You just touched upon machine learning and how startups are leveraging on it. You yourself are an expert in machine learning and you're associated with MIT. Could you please share on how do you see machine learning being taught in the Indian education system?
Absolutely.
And is it at par with places like MIT and Stanford?
Yeah, machine learning is really taking over the world in amazing ways, and I think we're going to see a trend where it becomes deeper and deeper as part of our life. In fact, machine learning is simpler than some other methods that people have used in the past, whether it's imaging or computer vision or signal processing, probability, statistics, and analytics, and so on. Machine learning is actually simpler, but just the lack of awareness is preventing people from using machine learning. Most of the tools in machine learning, at least on the application side, are actually plug and play. But of course, the real magic comes when people can understand that at a much deeper level to move it forward. So I encourage everybody to take online classes. It's actually not as difficult as it sounds, and one can be up and running literally in a matter of weeks.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Rajkar. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you.